3. The number you'll need at 8:45 is 330-450-7625. I'd been talking about the movie theater a little bit. Apparently the collectible popcorn buckets is how they're going to get you these days. And I was talking about, well, the movie theater does that, man. They just get you, right? And I was saying about how every time we walk out of the movies, we got to take the little dude over to the arcade. He seems to be all about air hockey. So Dustin sent me this post at my ex at Stansbury show. She's like, dude, let the kid win the air hockey game. And it's just a picture of Gretzky. Like, here's the thing. I do get a little competitive. Not as competitive as his mother. Jennifer will race you to the door. Like, I realize she's way more competitive than I am. I took them both to do, like, putt-putt. This is a few years ago. But the kid's like my favorite thing in the entire world. Like, nothing has ever made me happier than those kids, man, ever. You guys were totally right about this. And so, like, if he's gonna walk away, you know, I wait a little bit at Rolling Stone in the break. And Sam Mendes, Beauty, Skyfall, a few other movies as well. He says, quote, "We intend this to be a uniquely thrilling and epic cinematic experience. 4 films told from 4 different perspectives, which tell a single story about the most celebrated band of all time." Are they the most celebrated band of all time? They were. Are they still? That's interesting. I may have my Sam Smiths up. Is this Sam Harris? To have the Beatles and Apple Corps blessing to do this is an immense privilege. From our first meeting with Tom Rothman and Elizabeth Gabler, it was clear that they both shared our passion and ambition for the project. And we can't think of a more perfect home than Sony Pictures. And again, the 4 films expected to be completed and ready for you to see them in the theater not until 2027. Good God. The format of the premiere schedule and the order in which the films will come out has not yet been detailed, though a press release has described the approach as innovative and groundbreaking. So I was a little curious about this because I said, well, what do you do about the releases? Lennon to me feels like the hook. Right? That feels like the story everybody's going to want to see. Like, I need to see the Lennon, right? McCartney, not. That's how it feels. Ironically, George Harrison might have been the best musician in the entire band. He may have been the best writer in the entire band, right? There, but like, it was like, John's writing all these, you know, cool pop songs and all of this stuff, and so we'll just kind of go along with that. George was the underrated star in that band, for sure. Think of, like, to put it in a rock version, he's a little Izzy Stradlin. Like, everybody thinks Axl and Slash just did everything, and it's like, not really. Like, not really. That first record is all Izzy, baby. All Izzy. And so, like, it's kind of one of those things where he gets kind of, you know, undersold because of the people he was in the band with, George Harrison. So I was making the argument, if you put Lennon's out first, don't people just go see that and go, And so what Justin, again, cinephile, listens to the program a lot, had suggested is what you do is you put out Paul's first. Then you go George, Ringo, and then you go with Lennon last. That's the one. Lennon last feels right. Lennon's either first or last, right? Like, if you put them in the middle, it's like, what are we doing here, right? So it's first or last, unless they put them all out on the same day. I could see that, a little 1978-ish Kiss solo records there. You could maybe do that. For me, what I would do is, I think he had it as Paul, and then George, Ringo, and then John. That's probably right. You know, so finding a better version of that is first, just as let's get it out of the way. Also, you could sell the argument on Ringo first because of how he's viewed. So get his story out there. Get it out, and people go, oh, you know, never looked at it that way. Like every other movie that's teaching you how to like something. And so, like, you'll be, you know, that feels very much, I never looked at it that way, Ringo Starr-ish. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. I think it's better probably than a 5-hour movie about all 4. I kind of know the Beatles story, and beyond that, what we have is the Beatles MP3s. Like, I think they get trashed a little too easily. And they were definitely responsible for one of my favorite bands, Kiss. Like Kiss they wanted to be the hard rock Beatles, and baby, did they ever. And I mean, did they ever accomplish that? They for sure did it, right? And so, like, I can see the similarities in those two things, for sure. Absolutely. You can see it easy as day, right? It's right there. And so I kind of like them for that as well. So I'm a fan of the subject matter. I'm a fan of the songs. I'm a fan of the history. I'm a fan of all of that. But Love kind of blew me away. It was kind of like, this is really, really well done. The Beatles are just kind of one of those things, man. The music is simplistic, and therefore it's timeless. I Want to Hold Your Hand made sense when they released it, and it's going to make sense for the generation coming out 2 generations from now. I like you. You're attractive. I seem to have an affinity for you that I do not have for other people. I feel like holding your hand. I don't have that feeling over anybody else. That's a universal thing. I Want to Hold Your Hand is never, ever going out of style.
Kind of funny you can listen to him on your smart speaker.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
The Stansberry Show.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
On Rock 1069.
8 a.m. this morning, we'll take a look at MGK. People are accusing him of wanting to be black over some photos that he posted, I believe, yesterday. If you have not seen those photos at Stansberry Show on Facebook, you can get a look at it. I feel like that accusation on MGK is about 15 years late, but we'll get there. Coming up 8 o'clock, we'll look at that. All right, so there has been so much said about the workplace since COVID, right? And they don't give a damn about any of this with you. They only think it's cute that your dog is in the Zoom video now because they don't have the ability to tell you, get your ass to the office without looking like they don't care if you die. I was right. Right? Like, I mean, I was right. And most people knew that. Most people know the corporations don't care. They care about turning the profit because that's how they stay in business. And that's what we should care about with them too, because that's how we all stay employed too. Right? We don't need to get sidetracked on that. But I was kind of right about it. And I saw what work from home did in my industry, and it wasn't great. There are people who were great. I predicted this in my building. I said, look, these people will be really good at this. These other people will not. Newsflash, I was dead right about my estimations on it. You can just kind of tell who can and who cannot, right? There's a little bit of owning your own business in this. That's a very similar thing. Some people are not designed to do that. Even though they may want to, they're not designed for it. The ups and downs, the lack of security and that paycheck that comes twice a week. There's a lot that goes into that, right? And so we've seen a lot of businesses really jumping through hoops on how we're going to get people back in the office. Are they, we need to make sure people are enjoying this a little bit more, because what we all do now is go and record videos about how miserable we are with everything we have and post it online, and people feel justified. And like, people are shocked that people are getting fired for doing things like that. It's like, what do you are spreading negative light on the place at which employs you. That's not going to be a good business plan. Trust me, I kind of know, right? So there's all these new perk packages out there to get people excited about working with other people again, right? We became very selfish in COVID. I hate everybody else. I'm the only person I need. Religion of me, man. Like, we just kind of went all the way into it. So now a cloud-based security company, apparently they're called Verkada. I don't know much about Verkada, but they've gone now viral over a in-office work policy that actually is all about you spending time with your coworkers outside of work. What they're doing is calling it the 333 perk. And here's how it works. It allows any 3 employees to expense food and drink after 3 o'clock. You just have to go do it together. So any 3 people get together, you go to a restaurant, have a meal, have some drinks, you can expense it back to the company. Verkada's CEO, Philip Calazan, believes that the idea is 3 people go out, they talk, it's the shared experience you all have, which is something you're going to talk about. It's why guys get together at golf courses and bitch about their wives, because we all go, oh, dude, you think that's bad? What do you hear what mine did? Right? And that's why women get together and bitch about their husband. It's a collective experience that, hey, and I say all the time, because every guy listening to me has gone through that story. It's relatable, honey. That's why I'm telling the story. It's not just to drive the train over your ass, although sometimes I do enjoy that. But it's about making something relatable. So yeah, I totally see that working, and work will come up for sure. So the program they claim is simple. You get up to $30 per person. Not that much money these days. Corporate CEOs don't even understand how much drinks cost. Terrible system. Right? Like, that's going to be the thing. There's no pre-approval process necessary. All they ask is that while you're out, after you hang out, they have a designated Slack channel. For anybody that doesn't know what Slack is, quickly, it is a cloud-based communication system that people will use in offices. Like, inter-office communication is essentially what it is there, right? And so what they're asking is that you just upload a quick photo to the group Slack channel, and that's it. And they'll pay for the food and they'll pay for the drinks. Apparently, the participation is pretty high. 1,800 employees using it at least once a week, they say. They emphasizes regular usage, recommending once or twice a week. Now, it's not just about the money, apparently. Again, the CEO says the program's success lies in its cultural shift. Prior to 333, expensing meals with colleagues was possible, but the program's visibility through office posters and active promotion make all of the difference. It wasn't about the budget, he says, but about everybody knowing they can do it and getting excited about it. What they're trying to do here, and this makes all the sense in the world, it does. This makes a lot of sense. The more you enjoy somebody, the more likely you are to work well with them in the office. You're probably more likely to get to know somebody and enjoy something about them if removed from the office. Because now all of a sudden, if you're talking about your kid or you're talking about this is the perfect place for it. It's not the office when I'm trying to get something done. We're in a casual setting. I work in a very informal business, very informal. Like, it's, most meetings are pickup meetings. Like, you're literally walking through the hallway. Hey man, we're talking about this real quick. Why don't you sit down on this? That's my industry. That's one of the reasons why I love it. And one of the reasons why I hated COVID as much as I did. I am a very personable person. It may not always sound like that, but I am. And I want to talk. I want to mix it up. I want to brainstorm. I want to do all of these things. And in COVID, I was the only person in the building. This is true. This is a true statement. For 9 months straight, I was the only person in this building the entire time I was here. There were people who came in later in the afternoon after I was already gone. 9 months straight, I was the only person I saw. It got lonely. It got a little, this is like The Shining in here, man. Like, this is terrible, man. Like, I don't like this. And so when people started to come back to the building, I was like a trucker who's been on the road for 8 days, hasn't talked to anybody. And I saw somebody's like, hey, you want to talk about everything? How's this make? How do they do that? What's your kids doing? How do they get, what's the report card like? I mean, I just was like so excited to see other people because I just didn't see them. And now we got people back in the building. It's bustling. Just yesterday, a pickup meeting literally happened in the hallway where a bunch of people are going to benefit financially because of the fact that we happen to be in the same place at the same time talking about things. And building relationships out of work, I think, will make you like your coworker more, which will then have you more likely to be willing to work a little harder with them, meet a deadline, maybe pick up some slack. Okay, maybe some of this. Now, are there downsides to the 333 perk program at the office?
You're never too old for a good morning kiss. The Stansberry Show, Rock 106.9.
By the end of the hour, I'm getting you into Event Sevenfold. That show's March 9th, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. That's a Saturday night, by the way. So, you know how this works. I'll give you an Event Sevenfold song I love, and then we'll pass the tickets out. We'll do that by the end of the hour. We had been talking about the 333 perk. Verkada is a cloud-based company, and their CEO is promoting the 333 perk. Here's how it works. Any 3 employees can go out after 3 p.m. and expense the food and drinks, up to $30 per person. So 30, 60, 90 there, right? Now, $90 doesn't go as far as it used to, right? And there's all those conversations. And the CEO does put an emphasis on in-person interactions and, encourages you to hit local, hotspots, right? They say they prioritize cool downtown areas. Now, I want to snicker at that and be like, dude, you're kind of going to force people to go places they don't want to go. But I may be stereotyping here, and not maybe, I am stereotyping here, but I would imagine people who work at like a cloud-based company like that are probably more prone to still want to be in those cool downtown trendy type places. Again, I'm stereotyping there, but I bet I'm pretty close. Not that it would be everybody, right? Now, the CFO acknowledges that the economic downturns might necessitate reevaluating perks. The program's core aim is to empower employees to take ownership of their interactions, fostering a connected and collaborative culture. And I work in a very collaborative field. It's always kind of been that way. Music meetings were always collaborative. Get the staff in here. Let's listen to a couple of records. What do you guys like? What don't you like? What should we play? What should we not play? That happens less these days. But, it's, what we do about promotions and stuff. It's very collaborative. It's one of the reasons why I like this industry so much. And why, as it may let me down occasionally, I still find myself coming back to it. Right? I like that about it. I'm into the team building thing. It's less of a team culture than when I first got in. When I first started in the industry, I was moving a radio station out of a singular building and moving them into a building where all of the radio stations the company owned were going to be in one place. It didn't used to be like that. So when I first started at the Buzzard, I was moving them out of Tower City into Independence where they were. They're now back downtown. And so I kind of came in at the tail end of your own building. But when I got in, it was still very territorial, even amongst the stations we own. You may work and be a board op at another station, but if you worked at this station, it was us versus them. We want the advertising, we want the promotion, we want the tickets, we want this. It was us versus you, even inside the own building. Now, that ended up not being so great, and we ended up smoothing some things out, and we've seen some changes there. And it has become a much more collaborative across all the stations format, right? And that's probably the way it needs to be these days in order to, turn a successful business. That's kind of the way that works. Now, what I found interesting about this is the CEO said, look, this is what I'm looking for. I want you to go out with one another, and I'm willing to bet through those conversations something about work will come up. And I said, well, of course it will. It's your shared experience. It's a reason why people bag on spouses. There's a reason why people talk about the problems with their kids. It's because you have that. Your wife has been annoying to you. Your husband has come home late too drunk after being out with the guys. These are collective things, right? And that CEO was kind of talking about this. Now, this came in off the text line at 330-450-7625, and it's interesting. This guy says, my dad owned his business, and once he took his crew out, he used to do this a lot for beers. And he wanted everybody just to hang out and be friendly. The first person that brought work up bought the next round of drinks. I like that system too, right? Let's enjoy one another outside of work. Let's just kind of get out and decompress. The only issue there with people that I probably wouldn't choose to be friends with outside of work hours, and I'm not being paid. Back in the day, it would be like, the boss is taking us out for beers, he's a good guy. Today, it would be, the boss is giving us beers because we don't get health insurance. Thanks for the pizza party, corporate America. Thanks for the pizza party. This could have been an email. That's kind of, the mentality of the worker has shifted. And both people are to blame there. Because small business owners are way better about this because they can be. Where corporate business is very much more rigid. Do your job. This isn't a playground. Do what you got to do. Then get out of here and kind of do that. And so work hasn't been good enough to the employee over the last 35, 40 years, if not longer, if we're honest. And the workers also gotten a little too complacent with the fact that press and enter on this keyboard is really hard, man. So hard. Oh my God, I'm being taken advantage of. I've pressed enter on this thing 900 times today. Why is nobody giving me my $10 million yet? Right? It's both people are guilty there. Both people. But do I see the CEO thinking to himself, get him out there, get him a little lubricated. Next thing you know, they're going to end up talking about work, and then we might get a good idea out of that. For sure. For sure. But I'd be careful. You're talking about mixing coworkers and alcohol together off-site. Let's be honest about booze, man. It kind of puts you in that place of, yeah, I can do that. When in reality, you can't. You can't do it. And you're going to there will be negative interactions here. Never mind the clicking. I work in a collaborative industry. I've told you about 10 times. Every radio building I've ever worked in, has been super high school clique based. For sure. This table never has lunch with that table. And I'm a little bit of a floater. I was this way in high school. I hung out with those people. I hung out with these people. I hung out with those people. And I was never really I talk about it all the time, right? I'm not into groups. Like, I'm not. I like being I kind of want to be able to do what I want and kind of maneuver how I want. And so if we were to do the PERC 333 here, this wouldn't really be a thing for my building here, more north in Cleveland. It's just going to end up cliquey. And I think people are going to walk away feeling resentful over the fact that they weren't asked to go with that group. Right? Like, my guess is this is already happening. It's just the coworkers are paying for it by themselves. Like, they're not expensing it. Beyond that, I think you're opening yourself up to a lot of sexual harassment issues here. I think you're opening yourself up to a lot of he said, she said scenarios here. And I found myself in a he said, she said scenario while working here at this radio station. And it proved what I'm always saying. You're not judged in the moment. You're judged by who you were leading up to that moment. And that's why when it came down to he said, she said, I was believed and the other person was not. Because my track record was that much better. I'm actually going to fill you in on what that story was, and we'll take a look more in depth at the 333 PERC. That will be after you get your Avenged Sevenfold tickets next on Rock 106.9.
To all the teachers who said he'd never amount to anything.
That is correct.
Lucky guess. The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show. We're on Rock 106.9. In just a few minutes, I'm going to get these Avenged Sevenfold tickets passed out. That show's March 9th. Took that opportunity to play you one of the Avenged Sevenfold songs I love. There are more than a few, but I like that one a lot, Hail to the King, so I decided to give you that one today. Somebody said, I can't wait until you have to give out Sublime tickets and then you have to go deep in the bag. I won't go deep in the bag on that one. I just won't play it. They suck. I don't care. I don't care whose kid they get singing the vocals. They suck. I'm here to tell you, dude, Sublime's terrible. Worst band ever assembled. Terrible. Awful. So, yeah, I'll give out the tickets. Absolutely. But I'm not going deep in the bag on them. I tried to do a deep dive a couple of months ago over a weekend listening to them. Awful. You think the hits are bad? Oh, my God, dude. Listen to some album tracks. Terrible. I mean, they're abysmal. But I got Avenged Sevenfold tickets today. We'll get those passed out momentarily. We had been talking about the 333 PERC, a web-based, cloud-based company, is kind of doing this with their employees. And they're encouraging rather, to go out together in pairs of, well, not pairs, that would be, I almost said pairs of three, idiot, groups of threes, and you each get $30 per person that you can expense on the food and drinks at restaurants. Now, they say, it's prioritize the cool places downtown and all of that kind of stuff, and what they're looking for is you build some bridges, you like the person a little bit more, next thing you know, we get more productivity done in the office, and I think they're probably right about it. There's a reason why in sports, you talk about culture of a locker room. Culture matters. Because in the fourth quarter, if I hate my running back, dude, I'm not blocking. Like, I'm tired, man. We've been in here, right? If you like one another, if you believe the quarterback is good, if you believe the running back is good, let's all get together and make sure we get this done. The more you like somebody, the more you're willing to do for that person. Think about it this way. Who gets away with more in your life? Your best friend or your spouse? Or I maybe should make it just a friend or a coworker friend or your spouse. The spouse gets away with more. Absolutely. For sure. You will excuse way more behavior out of your spouse than anybody else. Right? You like them more. You love them. It's a different relationship. Right? I'm not saying people are going to end up loving each other the way they do their spouses, although at work. That's my other question. Are you doing this after work hours? If this is like lunch breaks, I kind of get it. But like, are married people telling their spouses, sorry, I got to go out with these two guys from work because my boss thinks it's going to be the thing, right? Like, that's, now you're creating conversations for people in their homes, which can get tricky. I don't have a problem if my better half has lunch with a man. Like, it doesn't bother me because I know what her position is. I know it damn near requires her to go to lunch and take people to lunch, take people to dinner sometimes. And that's kind of how her business gets done. And so I understand it, but there are definitely times where I'm like, what the hell, dude, you're going out again? Like, what are we doing here, right? Like, that's going to happen. And so I see that being an issue down the road. Kelly doesn't like this idea at all. She says it could be my trust issues, but I'm not good on this. I don't want to do this. She's like, coworkers are not friends, and I don't like combining those worlds. Well, here's the thing. It all depends on your coworkers and you, right? But she's not necessarily wrong. There are going to be people who are going to look at this as an opportunity to go hear all your dirty secrets, not tell you all that much, and then use that information against you down the road. Yeah. But some of your friends in your circle are doing that too, right? But yes, is that a pitfall? For sure it is. Mixing alcohol and the sexes, I think, is going to get you in some trouble too. So I'm going to tell you a story that happened while I was working here. And it goes back a long time now. This is years ago now. But we were going to a promotion for the Cleveland building. And a coworker and I, female coworker and I, were going to both go. She wanted to drink at it. I knew one of us was going to have to drive. You want to drink more than I do, I'll drive. Let's meet at the building. I'll pick you up. We'll go. We'll do the whole thing. So it ended up being a little bit of a business mixer at a bar. And then we went over to Rocket Mortgage to see a show. The show's not necessarily my format. It was kind of, it was Magic show, Magic 105.7. It was their show. But I did like the artist. So I was like, yeah, all right, I'm going to go. And we had good tickets. I believe I was in the third row. And I had her with me. So it looked like we were together. But we weren't. And she was hammered drunk. And ruining the experience of the other people who were at the show that had nothing to do with our business mixer. And I said, you're affecting other people's evening. It's time now to maybe not do this anymore. And then I said to her, after a while of not being able to convince her of that, I'm walking you out of this building. We are leaving now. I have the car, we're leaving. If you want to do this, if you want to do something over there, fine. You want to go home with somebody else, that's fine. I am taking myself out of this situation. I had just bought my car then, and we're walking out of the venue, and she stops to buy a bag of popcorn. And I say to her, you're not bringing that in my car. Yes, I am. With that, and she just starts going off, like drunk lady-ish, right? Everybody's kind of been there, right? And so now I'm miserable. We're waiting for the car to be brought back to us. The valet was the word I couldn't remember there, sorry. And I'm waiting for the valet to bring the car back. And